Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. We'll wait for people to come on in, but I'm going to get started right away because I have some real goods to share with people today, whether you're listening live or replay. And as you come on in, get yourself ready for your mind to be blown, to be able to think in a different way than you've ever thought before. So I want you to lay aside the ways that you thought the world worked, the way that you were thinking that sales worked, because it's actually all connected. There's a story about a CIA interrogator. Anybody here like to watch CIA shows? You just love to look at interrogations, maybe a detective series. I love British detective shows. But there's a story about a CIA interrogator who broke a suspect in under 12 minutes. No pressure and no threats and no raised voice. He sat down across from a man who had been trained, literally trained, to resist questioning. And the first thing he said wasn't a question at all. This is what he said: There's a thing that happens when somebody walks into a room like this. They spend the first few minutes deciding which version of themselves they're going to show me. And usually it's the version that protects the thing they're most afraid of losing. And then he stopped talking. 12 minutes later, the man was telling him things he hadn't told his own wife, not because he felt pressured, because he was seen. Just picture that, because he felt seen. That's the thing that nobody teaches in sales. Somebody put nobody in the chat, because it's the highest form of persuasion. And the highest form of persuasion isn't pressure, it isn't fake urgency. It isn't scarcity. It isn't urgency. It isn't a better script or a smoother rebuttal or the perfect close or the perfect pitch. The highest form of persuasion is when somebody finally hears the sentence they've been saying to themselves for months, said out loud, calmly, by someone who wasn't asking them to do anything with it. Just think about that. Think about that for a second. So today, I want you guys to breathe in. We are going to be chatting and connecting today with things that I don't think you've ever seen before. I know you haven't, because I know I'm the only one out there that is doing this. And I've created an AI platform, an end-to-end sales machine that goes along with this. But before I go any further, I want to name something because I think it'll change how you receive what's going to come next. So this is a masterclass. Today, I'm not pitching. It's not a webinar. I'm not disguising anything that ambushes you with anything else. I'm going to teach you today what the art of or the science of the quiet selling method is. It's a framework. It's a neuroscience. There's an architecture underneath it. And toward the end, I'm going to mention something that exists for people who want to go deeper. Today, I just want you to receive. I want you to be interactive. I want you to put things in the chat, nothing more. So here's the permission I want to put on the table, right? You don't have to take notes. You can if you want. We're going to be doing some things interactive together. And you can just sit and listen. You can drop in. I prefer when people are interactive and respond. Anybody else? Anybody else like to be in a conversation and someone actually is nodding or actually is responding? So just type one word in the chat. Put one word in the chat. Like when you heard, okay, I'm going to come today to the quiet selling method, quiet selling machine and system. What's one word of the reason why? Are you frustrated? Are you frustrated in your sales process? Are you frustrated when you connect with people? Because if you've been showing up in sales conversations and you feel drained afterwards, put yes in the chat if that's you. If you've been attracting prospects who say, let me think about it, and then they quietly disappear, If you've been wondering why the conversations that should close just don't, write this down if you don't remember anything else. You don't have a sales problem. You have a belief access problem. And there's a difference. There's a big difference. So here's what's actually happening when you sit down with a prospect, either across Zoom, put it in the chat. Are you at a live event? Are you doing group closes? Are you on the telephone, old school in it? Are you meeting people in your own hometown? But I want you to realize that your prospect's having a conversation. It's not the one that is happening in your DMs. They have a conversation that's going on in their own head, and their conversations in their own head are about money. They're about identity. They are about fear. They are about a bunch of things that are what I call the real conversation. They have questions in their head about their worthiness, whether they're allowed to want what they want. And that conversation has been running for weeks or months or years before you ever showed up. Anyone that you meet, you're going to run into that they have a story and a state and a strategy. They also have something that's going on in their mind about who they are, about their identity, and about their safety, and about their rewards. And they're running this in their mind all the time. That is not what they're saying on the outside of them. So it's until you name the conversation, you cannot serve it. And until you can serve it, they will say, let me think about it every single time. And there are 5 patterns that we're going to talk about. I'm not going to have time to go through everything today, but I want to share a little bit of an overview. So there's 5 patterns that I see over and over and over and over and over in the thousands of calls and meetings and Zoom calls and sales calls that I've had with people over the years. I don't want to expose anybody, but I want you to start to see the pattern, because once you see the pattern, you can step out of it. So 1, you answer questions that they didn't ask. Anybody here answer questions that your prospect didn't ask? You may have a story in your own head about your identity or about your safety or about the rewards that you had as a child. And you may be showing up into your conversations today that's not even a conversation that's actually going on today. Can I get a witness in the chat? Anybody ever had that? There's a line I have in my household is that if it is hysterical, somebody put hysterical in the chat. If the conversation is hysterical, it's historical. If it's hysterical, it's historical. Is you are not having the conversation that you think that you're having with your people. So if you find that you're answering questions that you don't actually ask, right? Somebody might say, tell me about the program. And then you launch into sharing about your program. Can I get a witness? Can I get people saying yes in the chat? That people show up and they say something and you respond to what you think is the question. You think this is the question. Tell me about your program. When there is a real conversation, I call it the iceberg. There's a real conversation that is going on beneath the surface of what they're actually saying to you. And there's a cognitive dissonance that is going on between you and your prospect. You are answering a question that they didn't really even want to ask. They're not even interested in that answer. They just think they're supposed to ask that. But because you haven't been skilled up until this moment on how to ask questions that uncover what's really going on beneath, you're answering surface level questions. Put yes in the chat. But it wasn't a question about the program. That was a request. Somebody put request in the chat. That was a request to be reassured that they're not alone to make the same mistake again. You answered the surface. They never got what they came for. Number 2, you speak to logic. Anyone here speak to logic? You speak to logic when your limbic system's in charge. People buy emotionally and then they back it up logically. You hit them with features and return on investment and proof and case studies and testimonials when you may not have ever needed to do that. Their logical brain nods politely, but their nervous system never moves. And the nervous system is where every real yes lives. Number three, you sound like you want the sale. When you sound like you want the sale, right? It's just like anyone here dated somebody or was pursued by somebody that was a little bit too excited, too interested, too zealous, too after you. And did you show up as excited? No. There was something that was in you that thought, well, this guy's going so hard at me or so interested in me. I'm going to pull back a little bit. And when you show up in sales like that, you actually push your people away. Because again, it goes back to their nervous system. They are mirroring your nervous system. So if you have a get rhythm, if your nervous system is saying, I have to have this instead of, I'm here to provide a solution for you, everyone can feel it. They may not be able to name it, but they can feel it. Did you know that there isn't any language in the system that says yes to the sale? There's actually no language. It is a feeling, and it bypasses all of the logical brain, all of the neocortex, and it goes right into the limbic brain. Underneath every objection is one sentence that your prospect is saying to themselves that they would never say out loud to you. Put that in the chat. What is the one sentence? This is number 4. You miss the unspoken beliefs that no one taught you to listen for. There's something that's underneath whatever your prospect is currently saying to you. Things like they might say on the surface, this doesn't work for me. I always start and stop. If I do this and fail, what does that say about me? You haven't been trained to hear these sentences, so you cannot speak to them. Number 5, you're using prophetic insight without the architecture to deliver it. God shows you things in conversations, but discernment without a way to say it back to the prospect calmly in a language their subconscious can receive without feeling targeted, it leaves the revelation stuck while you and the prospect probably ends up disappearing. While you sit there thinking, I don't know what's happening in the sale. I don't know what's going on right now. But you're not speaking to the person to calm the nervous system. Let me give you an example of this. When you are sharing with your people, right? Again, you're not broken. It's just probably training and a lack of programming. You're not bad at sales. You just haven't been trained for the right conversation. You are showing up to the wrong conversation, the conversation that's not really happening right now. I use something called an anchor message, which some of my clients are familiar with, that it's actually a message that is a pattern interrupt. Somebody put pattern interrupt that calms the nervous system of your prospect and quickly transfers trust to them. Because without the trust, and I'm not just talking about the know, like, and trust that you've been taught in other programs, but without trust on a deep cellular level, a trust that says, again, we go back to our needs, our need for safety. We're not going to share the real conversation, what's going on underneath. Our prospect is not going to share the real conversation that's going on underneath of them if their nervous system hasn't been regulated by you. And so when you talk fast, when you move fast, when you go into sales mode or pitching or convincing, you're instantly, somebody put instantly in the chat, you're instantly creating buying resistance because everything in their nervous system is saying, this is not a safe place for me. So let me tell you a little about the quiet selling method. So it's built on a neuropsychological principle. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. People do not buy from the conversation they're having with you. They're buying from the conversation they're having with themselves. Think about that. They're not buying from the conversation they're having with you. They're buying from the conversation they're having with themselves. So, what you think about that, because everything else that I'm going to share flows from that belief system. Does everybody understand? Put yes in the chat. The real conversation they're having with themselves, which is what I also believe is good marketing. I believe excellent marketing is when you share the conversation that your prospect is having in their head. They are having a conversation in their head. When you say those things out loud, their nervous system feels very safe because they start to feel what? They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel understood. So your job is to name that conversation out loud. Now, I'm not going to talk about confidence today, but confidence is a huge part of this. It takes a lot of guts to say things out loud. Can I get a witness? To be warm and loving, be really firm with about what the truth is about things. It takes guts, it takes courage. So your job is actually to be able to name that out loud, because they are not going to have the confidence in you to lead them through a transformation program if you're not showing up with the confidence it right away in the middle of it, which is your sales process. Your sales process was designed, somebody put that in the chat, designed to prepare your client. It isn't something you're to rush through. It is something that you are to go through with them, because they become a different person in your sales process. In your event or your retreat or your course, your program, your masterclass, your mastermind, your 90 days, whatever you call it, is going to be so much richer when you take the time to have the real conversation with your prospects. So this process actually bypasses their logical brain, because the logical brain will step in and defend itself. And this method of quietly going about it actually bypasses the subconscious, which is where they actually make decisions. When you do that, something happens. So many of you may be proactively overcoming objections that you never have to do. Can I get a witness in the chat? You are starting to speak about things or say things or overtalk or talk too fast or bring up things that your prospect never even put on the table. However, you want to bring up the things that they would love you to bring up and have that conversation. Because when you can share their problem so well, they will attribute that you have the solution for them. Did you know that? When you're able to share it so clearly and ask them questions so well, they see your leadership, they see your authority, and they see that you understand them better than anybody else. Are they going to shop around? Yes or no in the chat. Are they going to look for somebody else to help them when you are able to explain things in such a way that no one else can? So I'm going to spend just a couple minutes on this because this is a huge deep dive. And next week, I am going to be doing a 5 days on the quiet selling method. And you will be a CIA agent in this realm by the end of next week if you're going to join us. On number one is regulation. So number one is regulation. So I'm talking about the way you show up that now mirrors how they are going to show up to the room. The nervous system is the first sales tool. Before your tone, before your words, your state is already negotiating for you. Put in the chat, what is my voice, how I show up, how I speak to you? What does it say to you? Calm bodies create permission. Write that in the chat. Calm bodies create permission. Dysregulated bodies create resistance. So just do a quick inventory in yourself. How much of your own presence is establishing whether or not the sale will go ahead? How much of your own presence? If you take nothing else from today, remember that the body work is the sales work. People who have, who overcorrect, this is overcorrection. I'm performing when I'm overcorrecting. People who undercorrect, they both have this exact same presence because it isn't calm. It's not calming your nervous system. You're feeling uncomfortable by the way that they are coming into the room. Number 2, revelation. Remember this, write this down. The first objection is never the real objection. So whatever somebody is telling you, I don't have time, I don't have money, I need to talk to my spouse, I'm whatever this, the kids, whatever they're saying to you, whatever they say isn't the real objection. I need to think about it is never about thinking. It's about something underneath. Can anybody guess what it is? What's really going on? Put it in the chat. What's going on for that person? Right? It's usually, again, we go back to the triangle. We have identity. Is my identity at risk? Is my safety at risk? Is my reward at risk? And they're doing that math in their heads. It's usually some kind of fear. It's usually a sentence they haven't said to themselves yet. And your job is to find the one sentence. Put it in the chat. You're going to find the one sentence. Because you carefully navigating and bringing up what's the real conversation, being able to untangle it and share truth with them, they will thank you for the rest of their life. Their buying decision will switch into, I want whatever this person's buying, whatever this person's selling, whatever this person has, I want to be around them because I would like to become like them. That is the feeling you want your people to feel. And again, if you have a team that does your sales, it's the exact same thing. You want them to absolutely exude a calm nervous system. Number 3, belief architecture. So this is the heart of the method. You learn to name the unspoken thought out loud, expose the lie inside of it without making the prospect feel exposed. That's what I call it. This is CIA of sales, guys. CIA sales school, we should just call it. Without people feeling exposed, right? We don't want them to feel exposed. We want them to feel safe enough to talk about truth. One belief at a time, one at a time, until the path to yes is clear. This is the work that almost no one teaches. Number 4, voice as vehicle. So what does that mean, Coach Heaven? What I'm saying is like your tone. Sometimes you're going to use a concerned tone. Sometimes you will be using a curious tone, right? There's different levels of tone, cadence, pacing, the energy of emotional disassociation. Speaking about the belief as though it were on the table between you, not inside them. That's what allows the truth to bypass logical defenses. This is why your audios convert or don't, right? We're wanting to be able to have it outside of them. We're not having a conversation of you. We are stating something in an emotional disassociation. We're going to speak about the belief right there in front of you, not inside them. And this is what allows that truth to come in and bypass their logical defenses that make them feel offended or defended, that goes right into their subconscious where they go, oh my goodness, I see. I can see. And they say it out loud, which is the highest form of persuasion. So the highest form of persuasion is self persuasion, not being persuaded by somebody. The strongest decisions are internally owned. Internally owned. When the belief has shifted, when the truth has landed, when the body is regulated, the prospect arrives at yes without ever feeling sold. They go through the process themselves and go, yeah, this makes sense. Yes, this makes sense. Yes, you called this out, but I am not feeling offended. For the first time in my whole life, somebody's able to say something to me that's so deep, I'm able to hear it. When they're able to hear it, they're able to make the choice to change. So the close is actually just the byproduct of the conversation, not the goal of it. Has there been a shift for anybody today? Right? From just being able to see that the goal isn't the close, the goal is to be able to have the conversation with somebody that's really going on, walk them through to have that revelation, and for them to make the decision of the yes. So I'd love to be able to show somebody what that kind of looks like, what the conversation is really going on. So I call it name it out loud. Name it out loud. And for many people, we have things that are going on that are very deep, that are below the surface for us. And often they are childhood narratives. So often what's happening is you're having a conversation with somebody, but then you're triggered about your safety, you're triggered about your identity, and you're triggered about the, risk or reward. And you can feel it, but unless somebody walks you through it, you're not probably going to see it. So I call it name it out loud, right? Like we want to be able to name it out loud because once the prospects owns that and they see it, they walk themselves through the process themselves. You're not telling them, right? Often when we tell someone, immediately they get offended, right? They don't want to hear it. They're like, oh, oh, oh. And they're looking for ways to defend themselves, to go back into the place where they were in denial. But any transformation, whether it's financial or relational, any kind of outcome that's going to require a shift is going to require a mindset shift. It's going to require a state shift. It's going to require a story shift. So what happens is instead of handling an objection, right, we're so tempted that somebody says something to us that we're like, unless our nervous system is regulated, we will receive that hot, fiery ball and we will throw it back at them with an answer. So I want everyone to practice something with me. The next time anyone says anything, your first word is a pause. Everybody, deep breath in. Somebody says something to you. They want you to do something. They want you to come right away. You've been trained, right? So you have to see some of this is just terrible training. Training for you to be that good little girl. Training for you to hide from like the real truth of what you want to do in your life. Training for you to just be obedient. Training for you to show up and overperform. Training for you to, I want to please my mom, so I'm just going to do that thing she says and have a smile and say I'm fine and I'm not okay. So we have all these layers of things that are not actually truths for us. So now we want to step into a new identity, a new reality. And our prospects are also going through the same thing. So we're going through this transformation. They're going through this transformation. And we've got to be able to name it out loud, but we want to walk them through questions so that they name it out loud. Because when they name it out loud, they get to, for the first time in their life, own the outcome. They're owning their own transformation. They're not having their father, their mother, their aunt, their uncle, their kids, somebody tell them. Something on the inside resonates with them. Okay, so I'm gonna help you guys a little bit. I'm gonna help you with somebody, but I want to give you a few examples. So imagine a prospect sends you a voice note like this and says, "Hey, I love everything you've just said. I just need to sit with this for a few days. I love everything that you've said. I just need to sit with this for a few days." So the old way of responding sounds like this. So please, if I say things that you're doing, just see it as life giving. Let's not beat ourselves up. The Bible says there's no condemnation to those in Christ Jesus. We need to see hearing rebuke. Like the Bible says that rebuke is better than hidden love. That we need to see that we can have mentors that we trust that will speak into our lives, that we can make changes, that we're going to fail and fall and we're going to get back up. We're going to make changes. It's just a process. So the old way of responding would be like, of course, let me know if you have any questions. What's making you want to sit with it? Yeah, Kim's like, yeah, that's me all over it, right? We say, let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. Or you'll say, what's making you want to sit with it? Right? It sounds polite. Somebody put polite in the chat. So you're going back to your identity. And again, I'm not a therapist, but I'm well educated and I've had lots of experience with a lot of things. So I teach a combination of therapeutic, neuro, emotional, psychological, intellectual sales process because there's so much that's actually going on because we're speaking with another human and we're not actually having the real conversation with them. So we can't say, excuse me, you're not having the real conversation with me. Like we some of us would, come on, let's be real. We'd like to actually have that conversation. But that's just going to put somebody's defenses up. Anything that causes buying resistance, we want to be careful to not do, right? Not as a tactic. Again, I want you to hear what I'm saying. It's not as a tactic to get what we want. It is a life mission of how to live well. When we unlock people on the daily, it becomes a very high skill for you. And you will walk into rooms and have incredible calm and peace in everything you do. Isn't that what you want? Like, wouldn't you love for your nervous system to be always regulated? So that was the first piece of homework, is to take a pause. Anyone says anything, your first word is a pause. Put on a sticky note. Just like I have sticky notes everywhere, but put my first word is a pause and put it somewhere where you can see it. That will be like a little reminder to you that the reason why you're getting burned out and exhausted and overwhelmed is because you're operating from the outside in. The more that you get skilled in asking questions in a neurologically, psychologically, intellectually, emotionally unlocking way, and you are in control of you, you will start to have such a peace and a calm about everything that you're doing. Everyone will be able to sense that everything's going to be okay when they're with you. And the more no's that you say to people, the more that you're able to say, take a breath. That's my first thing. I'm going to pause. And if you're feeling in any way pressured, exhausted, like too many things happening, overstimulated, to say, I'd be happy to get back to you with my answer. Right? Some things we just know in our gut are for us and we feel uncomfortable, but it's not because it's not right. It's because it requires a new version of us. So when you're speaking with your prospects, you're actually calling them up to a new version of themselves, right? If they grew up poor, if they have all this bad tapes in their head and the mind of like, I've got to be safe and I've been in like this hamster wheel of just survival mode for so long, my nervous system doesn't have anywhere to rest. There's going to be a process of you walking them through regulating their nervous system, asking them questions and leading them into the place of them stepping into, by their own choice, where a house where their nervous system is safe. Just trust me on this. Because if you want clients that stay with you and do the work and believe and just like have the strength, it's a longer process because we must uncover and unlock all of these things. Okay. So instead of the polite professional way, we want to do a bit of a pattern interrupt. It's also very genuine because if what we do is truly the best compared to anyone else, right, in our field, then you can say, absolutely take the time you need. And if it's okay with you, I want to name something gently. Sometimes when we say we need to sit with something, we're really saying, I'm afraid I want this as much as I want it. I don't know if that's true for you, but if it is, I just want you to know that wanting it doesn't make you reckless. It might be the most aligned thing you do. So, what did I do there? Did anybody feel the shift? Right? Because some of you had a moment where your nervous system recognized itself in that sentence. Even though I wasn't like directly talking to you, even though I wasn't selling you anything, some part of you said, oh, right? Like I felt that. If you felt that, put felt that in the chat. Because once you start to see things differently, once you see how it's built, once you start to understand the structure, you hear it everywhere. You'll hear it with your children, you'll hear it with your kids, your husband, you'll hear it with your teammates, you'll hear it with, anywhere you are, anybody, any friends, any church group. So I'm going to close with a love seat, but I just want to say a couple more things. So I want you to think that we start with a soft entry, right? So something like there's this thing that happens. Notice how I didn't say you, right? Or I want to name something gently. So we're calling something out, but it's signaling to the nervous system that what is coming is an observation, not an accusation. Put that in the chat. Some of you, if you learn this just with your marriage, just with your children, just with your team, or just in your sales, it's going to change your life forever. And it's actually going to reprogram your mind and your body. I always say that high level sales is the highest level of healing when it's done like this. When we go to therapy, we keep talking and we stay in a pattern. We stay in a pattern. We keep feeling stuck. We keep feeling stuck. We keep feeling stuck. When we start to draw other people away from patterns and we unlock them by asking questions into higher levels, we actually transform our brain. So in the process of unlocking another person, right? So again, soft entry. So a line like there's this thing that happens, or I want to name something gently. So again, it's observation, not accusation. If you can write that down for yourself, you're going to change your life. Number two, I use a third person framing. So listen to this. I'll say things like, sometimes when we say, or there's a thing women in this season do. Notice how I don't say when you. Immediately you'll have buying resistance when you're always attaching the solution to you or to them. When you speak about things as a group, right, your brain can recognize that it's like a generalization. There's this thing that women do, or women in this season, or sometimes when we say, you're normalizing and you're making it an observation. Number three, sensory detail. So something embodied, the face, the body, the breath, the cells, the subconscious actually receives sensory language faster than abstract language. So we're going to talk about that next week, what to look for in cues in people's faces, right? There's a thing I do, and I shared this yesterday with some of my clients, but when I'm speaking to somebody about my high level offer, which is now 200,000, I will say, I have this offer, but it's probably not for you. And that action actually triggers people in their subconscious to go back to their, remember I talked about safety, identity, risk, or reward. It goes back to, what do you mean? They have a choice in that moment. What do you mean? I want to be that person. That right? Because remember, they don't want to be that kid stuck in the trailer park, stuck in a bad marriage, stuck in never saving, stuck in making terrible decisions. They truly want someone who is going to bypass all that and get into their subconscious and bring them forward. They don't want to go to counseling for 20 years. They want their life to be changed as fast as possible. And so the only way you can do it is through calming their nervous system and questioning and replacing lies. If you rush it, if you sound pressured, you're going to lose them, and it's never worth it. Okay, number 4, a truth observation. What the moment reveals without prescribing it. So we're not going to give them a solution. We're going to just observe and share. Number 5, a trail off. We don't want to over conclude. We want to leave loops open. Somebody put leave loops open. The subconscious finishes what the conscious mind doesn't quite close. That's where the unlock happens. And I know some of you may be like, wow, like I feel like I just came to some mystical conversation. And in some ways, it really is. And so I'm not going to try to oversimplify because there is a lot of strategy that goes into this. Okay, quick. Um, Kim, why don't I bring you in for a second?
Sure, I'd love that. Thank you.
Yeah. So when I share some of these principles with you, what goes on in your mind, or what unlocks in you? Can you feel it start to unravel? But then at the same time, there is like another conversation with your logical mind that's like, no, but these are the way that we do things to talk to people about sales. Can you feel that battle within you?
Absolutely. It's like a push and pull constantly because I am very logic brained. I am very 1 + 1 = 2 brained. Um, and so it's very challenging for me to see the emotional side and remember that people buy emotionally, back it up logically. I tend to always go people biologically backing them up emotionally, which is up,
Mm,
absolutely the opposite. So yes, this is just it's significant to me, especially because today I had a situation where my nervous system was struggling, and
mm,
I took a moment and I'm like, you know what, I need to take a breath and step back in here and realize that what's going on inside of me right now, and
yes,
acknowledge that, and
that's
then
so good.
move forward. So yeah, it's perfect timing.
I'm so glad. And when you were acknowledging, like sometimes when we are kind of doing that inventory, like I also want to help everybody here who's listening to is that when you have that moment, like again, you go back to, and that you guys, you're always like it's always from a place in childhood. Like
Mhm.
there's a moment that you attach to something, right? Where maybe it was your parents never made, I'm not speaking anything over you, Kim. I'm just speaking directly. Like parents didn't make lunches. So you're like 6 years old and you're trying to figure out grabbing crackers from the cupboard, or parents didn't pick you up on time after school. So there's like this different things around safety, identity that are constantly that are in motion. But if you have that piece of the pause, right, whether it's in your day or in a conversation, or just like you're saying, like, let's get myself emotionally regulated before I interact with other people. I love that it's ER, like an ER room, right? Like the emotional regulation is to be able to factor that in. What do you feel is a common thing that is between yourself, like that you notice it's going on within yourself, that you see that's also going on within your prospects, that you would love to be able to unlock both in yourself and them?
I think it would mostly be the lies that we believe, um, whether it's, and again, because I do have children who have experienced a lot of trauma, I do know, a lot of that first 5 years,
Yep.
formative years, all of that stuff. And I think the challenge in myself and them is acknowledging that that's where it comes from and being okay with that, and also being okay with moving forward.
Right. So that, giving the self permission as opposed to
Yes.
waiting for, like, again, somebody in our lives who gave us some of that identity, that you take your power back
Hmm.
when you say, it's actually I'm the one who's dictating how it's going to go, and that we have that choice in that moment to show up as our future self,
Hmm.
even though it's
Exactly.
not that yet. And I would recommend, like, practice some, create. I know you already have this verbiage, but practice some, even if it's not in an audio, but writing out that to yourself of what that does
Mm-hmm.
and emotionally regulates you, to write
Mm-hmm.
out a couple sentences that you already have ready and prepared. And then similarly for your prospects, right? To be able to say, I hear and I understand what you're going through, right? And to be able to share with them what it is that whatever it is that they're feeling, but give language. Everyone, remember that part of your brain doesn't have language.
Yeah.
So when you give language, it creates safety and trust, right? Like when you're able to say those things out loud, because there's no benefit, right? You have to think about that. If you're being very truthful with your prospect and you're walking them through the challenge and you're helping them overcome, like, all these things, you're regulating their emotional system, like all of this, there's no immediate benefit to you. And so it will absolutely tear down any buying resistance, because, like, you've worked with lots of children, and if you were to spend hours holding a child who's in great trauma, right, there's no there's no benefits, no quickly getting them to school, you're not quickly getting your own needs met, you're absolutely showing up for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I want you to take that skill that you already have with family and go, I've been perfectly made to be able to unlock people well,
Mm-hmm.
because it is truly regulating their emotional system, figuring out what is the real conversation that's absolutely happening right now, being brave enough to say it in terms where it doesn't say you when you talk about an observation instead of an accusation, and then to keep going with them. Because if you don't, what is the cost of you not doing that for your prospects?
The cost of that is they stay in their current self, and it's going to cost them and generations to come. I mean,
It,
it's unbelievable, the cost.
Exactly. And the skill that you show in the kindness and love, patience, but also being firm. Like, you're being firm and calling things out on people, right? So we're doing the
Right.
both, that truth is traveling at the speed of love, and that you're calling those things out. So just be mindful of that. Like, the next time the enemy tells you you're not prepared, say right back, I am properly prepared for this.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Proud of you, girl. Thanks for
Thank you,
coming on in
Coach.
here. You betcha.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we are at the end of the time. Would love to have you in for next week. It's 5 full days of the quiet selling method. So I'm going to go behind the scenes of what all this means. What are you even talking about, Coach Heaven? We are taught certain ways to do marketing or delivery, or to come across as salesy and have fake urgency. Are you saying we are to have a therapeutic neuropsychological conversation with people that regulates their nervous system so well that they become clients for life and that their family is so much better? And I'm saying yes. If you're going to choose to spend your time in the day meeting with people and connecting with people, don't you want it to be beneficial for both of you? And money isn't enough for something to be beneficial. I want you to understand that. If you're having money come in and you're feeling anxious, nervous, unsure, you're having to pitch and convince, no part of that is going to have you ready to have a calm meal with all your kids and ask them what was the best part of your day. So let's remember that we're creating a life that we want, not just a sales system. We're creating a life we really want, and we're showing our prospects that there is a life that's possible to them. Well, I love you guys. Blessings on everyone. If you would like to be a part for next week, just send me a message that says quiet sales, and I will help you master it. And you can be a secret agent of making millions of dollars. Much love to you all. We'll see you later.